So not only was I ashamed of the actual smoking itself, I was also ashamed of hiding it and feeling guilt about all of the stuff. I actually did just make a video recently about getting started smoking, and if you haven't seen that one, I'll put that up here in a tag. So check that out if you haven't. But I'm going to pick up the story where I left off from that video, and essentially that's me coming back from Iraq as a smoker. I wanted to quit, but I ended up not. I kept giving myself excuse after excuse of why smoking was okay, and I'll give it another month or whatever. And it never ended up turning out like I actually quit. I just kept smoking. I found myself actually telling myself that I like it. I like cigarettes. I mean, I liked the act of smoking. It didn't really the smell after I started and got used to it. It didn't really repulse me or anything. I don't know what it was, but I convinced myself I liked smoking. And I might still say the same thing. If I had nothing else to live for, I'd probably go back to it. I don't know. But at the time, I was convinced I didn't want to quit. Some years passed, and I met this girl, and I liked her. She ended up becoming my wife. But in order to get her to become my wife, she had one stipulation, and that was that I had to quit smoking. And I told her, of course I'll quit smoking. And I really did feel like, yeah, I'll stop smoking. I love you, so I want to quit smoking. So she married me, but it wasn't as easy to quit smoking as I thought it might be, because up until that point, I never actually tried. I didn't have a reason to. I just figured I could put it down anytime I want. I didn't really realize I was chemically addicted to the cigarettes or habitually addicted to the act of smoking. So I hid it from her, and I was pretty good at it. I would go to work, I would smoke. I wouldn't smoke in the car. I would always smoke outside of the car, so the car never smelled like it. I would smoke, like, I would stop smoking like an hour or two before it was time for me to go home, so I didn't smell like cigarettes as much. I would wash my hands and face so that I didn't have all that before I go. I went through a lot of work to try to hide smoking from my wife. When I would deploy, smoking was much easier because, I had 6 deployments overall, and I had a couple deployments while we were married, and it was much easier to hide smoking because she wasn't there. Eventually, I didn't plan on I still had the plan to stop. I just never really planned it out. I never really figured out how I would do it. I just had some thought that one day I'll quit, but right now is not the time. Well, my mom ended up still knowing that I smoked. My brothers still knew that I smoked. And I would go to my mom sometimes while we were in town visiting, and we would smoke. Well, one time after doing this, I don't know how many times, my wife left, but then needed to come back and get something, or she was stopping by because she was on her way somewhere and she was passing by my mom's house and I was at my mom's. I don't remember exactly how the story unfolded, but she pulled up into the driveway while me and my mom were standing outside smoking. And I tried to see if I could throw the cigarette out of my hand very, like, casually. Maybe I could not get caught, but I did get caught. She saw it, and she was so surprised because to this point, she had thought I didn't smoke. I guess I could have probably played it off like, "Oh, no, I have been quit smoke. Now I just tried it this one time, and you caught me the one time." But it felt good to get that lie, that deceit, that hiding out. I didn't anticipate that it would feel good, but there was a lot of stress that was being carried around by carrying all that deceit and hiding and living in like a shadow like that. Letting it go and her finally being found out, it really felt good. It was a lot of pressure taken off my chest. Now we can actually talk about what I was going through, because up until that point, I don't know what I thought she would do if she ever found out that I was smoking. I just assumed she would leave me or something. I had a hard time quitting. I tried, but then once I realized I couldn't, or at least I felt like I couldn't, I just kept going. And now I've been in this rut for, I don't know, but I think by that time it had been a couple years. I had just gotten really good at keeping it hidden. By happen chance, she rolled up on me, caught me smoking, and there was lots of conversations after that about what I needed to do and how I was going to quit and stuff. And so I attempted again. I think I got almost a month into quitting, and something triggered me to smoke again. Maybe we got into an argument or something stressful happened in life, but I got to smoking again. But this time I wanted to be even better about hiding the smoking because I've already fell into this rut of smoking. I remember last time she caught me, it was really stressful, lots of argument and stuff, and I don't want that to happen again. So I got to be even better at her not finding out that I smoked. It should have just been that I talked to her. I should have said, "Hey, I I dropped the ball. I started smoking again, and now I am back into the addiction. I thought I could do it. I need, I don't know, just like to talk. I should have talked to her about it, but I didn't. Instead, I leaned into vaping. Vaping became a bit more popular back. That's when it was first like starting up. So I started vaping. Well, I got pretty good at the vaping and hiding the vaping. Heck, now I didn't even have to be outside of the car to do it. I could be in the car vaping and it wouldn't leave any smell. Well, my kids, my son and my daughter, they were so young at the time, they could be in the back seat. I could vape. They'd never say anything about anything, especially my son. He was like a toddler. And I got into that rut of just like doing it in the car, son being there, life. I don't have to, I could just vape all the way up until I got home and then I would never get caught, you know? Well, nothing always stays the same. Eventually, my son got older and he asked one time we were in the house, in the kitchen, doing something. We might have been making dinner, might have just been talking, me and my wife just doing something in the kitchen. And my son asked a question, and it's either it could have been my daughter. I'm not sure. One of them asked a question pertaining to that thing that I put in my mouth and I blow out smoke. And I was like, oh no, I've been found out. And sure enough, my wife was like, what are you talking about? And I had to come clean. By that time, uh, I'm sure my wife, if she ever got on to talk about, she would say that she was like, whatever, it wasn't new to her now. Cause she, like in the past, I had smoked and lied. And I think this had been a good 2 years that I had been vaping, trying to hide it. And right now, as I'm saying it, it does it. That pain that was probably caused to her with me lying and hiding things probably definitely eroded her trust in me. So that's a weird feeling to just now right here on camera, get that realization. I don't know why I didn't connect as much when it was happening or when I was being found out. But the second time, it didn't seem like she got as mad the second time. Anyways, let's move on. We talked about it. She was a bit more open. Maybe it was because it was the vaping and not the actual cigarettes and stuff. But I know for sure she didn't like it around the kids. Just the fact that they saw it happening. So we started coming to an agreement of, okay, don't hide it anymore. But at least don't have the kids see it. And vaping, it's bad, but it's not that bad. I eventually want you to one day quit. And so I said, I see what you're saying. And I said, I agree. It's not good for me. There's chemicals in this and it's going to shorten my life. I totally get it. And this was roughly 2017-ish. That deployment where I started smoking was 2006. So I had been smoking now using nicotine for over 10 years. And my use of nicotine was, golly, there was times where I would have a dip in and be smoking at the same time. I could tell some stories about my deployments and cigarettes and dip. I mean, they're not really productive to the conversation, but I used it quite a bit. And if you have used nicotine, dip, or cigarette, you got similar stories. I will tell one. This guy was like super tough. We were out on LPOP. It means listening post observation post LPOP. And we were out on this like berm type of hill. We're just watching the area. And what you do on these places, and all you do is you just listen and observe to what's going on in the surroundings. And then you take notes and report back for intel purposes to know what's going on in the area. Well, in this sense, it's at night. We're watching things at night and you have to be quiet and you have to have a good light discipline. You don't want to be seen. So one of the things that you can't do is smoke because a cigarette can be seen. Well, this guy had never dipped before, but he had a nicotine craving. And so we gave him some dip. You had, I preferred smoking, but I would dip in these kinds of scenarios. And this was not my first time dipping, but it was his. And he was dipping and he was spitting, and all of a sudden he got that sickness that comes whenever you dip. He threw up. And I got that sickness the first time I tried dipping. But when he did it, he didn't do what I did. When I did it and I got sick, I spit the dip out. But this guy, he didn't do that. He threw up, but then he kept dipping. He just did another little spit. It was crazy. He was one of the toughest guys I ever met. And there's a lot of guys out there in the career field I was in that just, there are lots of tough guys. I could tell lots of stories. Those are for future videos, though. This one, a small little nugget in a video about how bad nicotine is for you. I can't believe people would continue to dip after it makes you so sick feeling. I was one of them people. Anyways, I think that hiding the cigarettes, hiding the smoking, hiding the vaping from my wife definitely had an impact. And I had a bit more of a realization as I talked about it with you here in this video. Hiding things never really makes anything better. Unless you're hiding a surprise, like a gift or something for somebody's birthday. That's the only positive time that you should be hiding things. Unless there's other ones, you can leave those in the comments. I don't really know what other ones might be, but doing something destructive like smoking cigarettes, being an alcoholic and drinking a lot of alcohol, some sort of a sex addiction of porn or something, drugs, all of these really destructive habits are bad all by themselves. It makes it even worse when you have to go into this hiding mode. The guilt itself of doing it is bad, but then the guilt of not being able to talk to people about what you're going through and the struggle that you're having. If you're trying to quit, but then you fail at quitting and you don't feel that you have the support, but to be able to talk openly about it, that's a struggle. It could definitely, for me, it kept me from wanting to make another attempt. The stress of not being able to talk, not feeling comfortable talking, it just added on. The stress, which is like this cycle of like when there's more stress, I escape by doing the thing. Now, cigarettes aren't an escape like drugs and alcohol are, but just the act of it is like, if you're a smoker, you understand. It's like this outlet for when you're stressed or have anxiety. And if you've been hiding it, like I used to hide it, and you're familiar with what I'm saying. Ultimately, what I learned through through all of this with my wife, the hiding, the addiction, all that, what I learned was, one, the addiction's bad, but really bad is how it affects my relationship with people. When I have to hide it, when I have to lie, it erodes the relationship. It erodes the trust, and you don't want that. So if you are currently hiding whatever kind of addiction you might have, you need to talk to somebody about it. Not just somebody. For example, earlier in the story, I talked about how my mom knew about it. She was a smoker. She related to me and kind of condoned what I was doing. She made it easier for me to hide it from my wife. My mom can get some cool points, but looking back on that scenario, my mom should have held me more accountable. My wife was the one that pushed me to be better. So my wife gets the cool points here, even though she was the one that I was hiding from. Over that decade of smoking, I kept getting farther and farther away from being the person that I actually wanted to be, the person who I felt I really was. I didn't align with being a smoker. I didn't align with being a liar. I didn't align with deceiving my wife, the person I love most in the world. I felt very small. I felt very bad about myself. It wasn't until all this stuff finally came out that I started to be able to really face the issues. It wasn't until 2018 when my mom was in hospice and my dad had just been diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer that I was able to face the smoking itself and potentially quit. But I'm going to tell you that story more, how I actually quit, in the next video. So until then, be sure to just subscribe Check out this video that YouTube says that you'll probably like. And if you don't like that video, check out this other one that is the most recent one I did. So take care, and I will see you in the next video.